For this segment, we're going to hit some controversial PvP topics that are sort of in flux right now and are really going to dictate how Guild Wars 2 becomes an esport. And I really want to see what you guys think about these topics, so light up the comment section down there and let's get a discussion going. I'm Zael.
Rankshis.
Nightlock.
So, first one, evolutionary gameplay. How the game really changes between beginning game, mid game, and end game. Right now, Conquest is the only map, and that's capture the point for the people that don't know. And there's no change. The beginning is the same as the end.
Correct. Something that I guess could be different is, I hate to use another game as an example.
No, yeah, go for it.
But Dota, you start at level 1 and you go all the way up to 25. If you can get there, you get items from beginning to end. You can't do that so much in this game, so...
No.
Another suggestion that I would kind of have would be have events or buffs that only happen once throughout the entire match, and you can't ever take that back. No matter what happens, that's happened. That would definitely give your team an advantage or a disadvantage at certain points throughout the entire game. That would involve creating a whole new style of map.
Yeah, exactly. So you're saying more talking about the maps and like changing the map as a whole.
Yeah, I feel like changing the map as a whole would be just harder in general. Like, I'm not saying you couldn't do it. Like, Conquest serves its point, or serves a purpose right now, just kind of for fun and whatever. But if you want to make an actual, like, esport kind of map, you would just have to kind of create a whole new map in general. Right.
And Dota does it, like, you either have to have the character evolve or the map evolve. So in Dota, it has the characters more so, right?
Exactly.
So, and then you progress in the map. So it actually kind of has both. So in this game, you can kind of choose one of those two or have both. It's not so much the character can evolve, though, because, I mean, this isn't Dota. You're not starting from level 1. And so more so the map needs to change.
Correct.
So. I completely agree with that. If you're going to continue to do the same thing, and every time you queue up to go in to do a Conquest battle, you go in, and what's your objective? You're just going to go stand on points, and the only way that you can actually structure that is to, as a guild leader or whoever's, running the map, telling people which one to go to first.
Correct.
It's the same thing, essentially, every map that you're going to do.
Yeah, so, all right, next one, condition and condition removal. The system right now, and this is definitely one that's been talked about, is everyone can apply a mass, almost on every condition. I mean, not everyone, but like a lot of the 7 or 8 main conditions that there are. And then there's mass condition removal to kind of combat the fact that conditions are really powerful. And so basically, when you get some group battles, even in little battles, there's tons of conditions being applied and ton being removed. And so in that sense, the conclusion is that there's really not any skill to the application of these conditions. I mean, isn't that true? Like your auto attack, some auto attacks apply a condition, or some of the other attacks will just apply a condition as a secondary effect. So there's no...
Yeah, and then you remove it, and next thing you know, 3 other people are bleeding you, poisoning you. There's just too many. Right now, in my opinion, there's a lot of conditions and not enough condition removals.
I mean, that's true, but if you have more condition removal than conditions, like it defeats the point of conditions in general, I would say a better system would be adding more skill to applying conditions other than just auto attacks or whatever is applying the condition.
Utilities.
Exactly. You have utility skills that add conditions, or you have utility skills to remove conditions.
Well, what would you think about sort of limiting the duration stacking, because then there's no application timing. So if you have let's say confusion or poison, so those have a really specific purpose. And so what if the confusion was 3 seconds, but you increase the potency a ton? And now you have to think about when you're going to use it, and it's a high cooldown, let's say, on that confusion ability.
I mean, that sounds feasible and, acceptable.
Yeah.
I don't see a huge problem with that in general. If it's a big enough deal, you would put on a condition removal for that one thing.
Right, exactly. And you can almost make that for every condition. Like burning, let's say, is not really circumstantial like that, but you can make it like a burst move. So it'll only be for 4 seconds, and you can only use it in those last segments when you really need it or something like that. I'm not saying they need to change burning or any of the other like chilled or anything, but confusion, poison, and maybe a few of the others, they can definitely probably tune that up.
Yeah, there's just changes need to be made to a certain extent.
Duration time sometimes is just ridiculous.
Yeah. So next topic, average map duration. Right now it's really quick. Is that true?
Yeah, most matches
would you agree?
Fairly fast.
What would you think? Where would you want that match duration to ideally be?
Last beta weekend, I was in a match that probably lasted about 5 minutes. One team just got completely smashed, and even if I was on the losing team, so unfortunately, I saw the lower end of the stick, but I would have liked to just keep playing the game instead of having to stop, realize that I lost, and then when it reset, go back into the same game, and then it goes just as fast because the other team is stronger. It goes faster.
Well, think eSport. Let's think from a viewer's perspective. What they're going to want a little bit longer match, especially if there's evolution in the gameplay, right?
Yeah, I would say that even if you're going to have evolution throughout the whole thing, you would want minimum of, let's say, 20 to 25 minutes, for a good.
I mean, that's really
match.
Long too. I mean, it'd be an improvement if this went to 15.
Yeah,
minutes,
definitely. So. I mean, that would be a great improvement. But if there's things to talk about and stuff that would happen on a competitive map, I would say 25 minutes to 30 minutes would be perfect.
Yeah, so okay, next point, point neutralization and capping them. Right now, it's one person can really neutralize a point in seconds. I forget, it's 5 seconds or something like that. And then capping the point for your team, having more people on it doesn't actually make it go faster. So those are a few points that we can hit. I mean, what's the ideal system there?
I would say a better system. I hate to use other games in as examples, but in other games you put multiple people on a point and it happens faster. You have multiple people or less people on a point, it happens slower. It's not a bad system. I don't say they have to use things from other games, but it makes sense. If you're going to devote a bunch of people to one point, you should get an advantage in that point.
But an advantage side would be you'd send one person because it's going to take the same amount of time, but they send 3 people, and it'd be 1 versus 3, exactly. So regardless, they'd still take it over.
Right, so it comes down to implementing more choice.
Yes.
So that's sort of all these topics right now are about making the gameplay choice-based, and so that the spectator he doesn't know exactly what's going to happen in the match, and it can change, and he can be like, oh wow, why'd they choose to send 2 people there? It's because they wanted to cap it faster, or something like that. They could roll around in a set of 2, capping things faster, or choose not to do that, maybe break away, and so it just adds for interesting casting and spectating.
I would agree.
Really, so
I'd like to see that.
That's one thing they might be able to change, and it might be in flux once again. So in combat run speed, what do you guys think about that?
I hate when and we've dueled before in certain matches, and you'll be out of combat for a good 3 minutes, and I'm trying to run to the other side of the map just to get some health regen going on. Sometimes it makes no sense how it's functioning currently.
Yeah, it's inconsistent for sure. I mean, if you're both running away, it can take a minute, or it can take 10 seconds.
And it doesn't happen at the same time for both people.
Right. But strictly speaking, even if that was fixed, so it wasn't buggy in that sense, and it consistently turned off, you can still, you'll be in combat and someone else isn't in combat. So now you've got a change in the actual speed of those 2 characters, which means the person who's running faster has the choice to engage, whereas the person moving slower doesn't so much have that choice. Yeah. It's literally that person is at the will of the person who's out of combat and can run faster, because that person can either chase him down easily or choose to not engage.
Where I saw those benefits where if you're going to if right when the game starts you go cap a point, you're not slower. You can actually just run to go cap that point. So like you said, with the choice of going to attack that guy or just passing him and just going right off to another point and taking it because you have the faster speed.
I would just say if they could fix dropping in and out of combat to a more consistent manner, it would solve a lot of the problem.
Yeah, it would help. But here's the main question: does out of combat run speed increase add anything to the game?
I mean, it makes the game flow better in general.
Well, yeah, just because you're faster, but what if you were always that fast?
Yeah.
Or maybe if there was a midpoint where you're always that midpoint fast, would there be any problem with that?
Combat would be pretty fast.
Yeah.
Well, like I said, I mean, you tune it, but consistently, does making it faster add anything? I don't know if it does.
Yeah, I can.
And like I said, it could be just structured PvP. Then you go back to PvE, and now you have that mechanic that now you can run around the world faster. Of course, that's ideal.
Definitely.
If you don't have mounts or whatever.
Okay.
Hint.
We don't need mounts in this game.
Yeah. So
I would like to run faster on the
show. We're running high on time, so I'm going to call it there. I'm Zael.
Rankshis.
Nightlock.
And that's going to be part 1. We got part 2 coming. So if you like that, make sure to share this and get this discussion going, because I want to hear what you guys have to say. So see ya.